So this morning, I'd like to go around the virtual room and I'd ask you each to share your name, where you're located, and the organization you represent. And then tell us, how does your organization or your farm or your business participate in local foods development in North Dakota? So, for example, I am Stephanie Bloomhagen. I am in Bottineau, North Dakota, but I'm the executive director for Farms, which has its offices in Tuttle. And Farms is part of Local Foods in North Dakota by providing education and support for the farmers that grow the local foods. So we're at the very beginning of the chain with supporting the producers.
Davis. I'm based out of Fargo. I'm the Tribal Programming Director for Prevent Child Abuse in North Dakota. And as far as local foods, I work, part of my time is dedicated to the CDC Healthy Outcomes Project, which works on food poverty issues in 2 tribal communities within the state.
Thank you, Jacob. Felicity.
Yeah, my name is Felicity Merritt. I'm the coordinator for the North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance. So I do a lot of our social media and communications, just kind of emailing people and getting everyone in the same room, essentially, is kind of my job. I'm located in Fargo, and so I do this job remotely, and I'm also a graduate student at NDSU in the plant science department.
Thank you, Felicity. Claire Lostutter.
Hi, my name is Claire Lostutter. Well, I guess I'm here. I'm trying to figure out in what capacity exactly. But I just started yesterday as the local foods coordinator. It is part of Bismarck Parks and Rec Department. But I will be working with Bismarck at Farmers Market here in Bismarck, as well as Bismarck Public Schools Farm to School program and the Community Orchard, among other local foods efforts. And then I am also a producer. My husband and I run Folly Hill Farm. We sell duck eggs, some produce locally, and we also produce organic fertilizer.
Thanks, Claire. Ellen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ellen Knutson-Duffy. I'm in Bismarck. I am with River Road Gardens. We are a sustainable landscape company, and we don't work very often directly with local foods, but every once in a while we get to do consultation with putting an orchard in with Megan up at Trick and things like that. I guess mostly I work with pollinators, which help all things grow. And then I'm also on the board of the North Dakota Local Foods Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Jody Bruns.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jody Bruns, Leadership and Civic Engagement Specialist with NDSU Extension, and I'm joining you from Oaks today. And I'm on the call. I am involved with the North Dakota Rural Grocers Association, and there just seems to be a lot of misunderstanding between local foods and grocers, and so I've been intrigued by this movement for a long time, and so I'm here to learn and help facilitate food in our state.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jody. Scott Grandy-Hill.
Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Grandy-Hill. I work here in Bismarck at United Tribes Technical College. I'm the agriculture extension educator. So we have a degree program here where we try to get our students some hands-on experience and resources for market gardening or working within that kind of job space. So we have just a couple students now, but we're hoping to get more involved, especially as the season ramps up.
Thank you. Craig Burns.
Hi, can you hear me okay? This is the first time I'm using my phone to
Yep.
call in. Okay, perfect. So Craig Burns, I'm a assistant professor in social work at UND in Grand Forks, vice chair of the local food NDLFDA board, and on the board of a organization called Wanawota in Devil's Lake, which does food distribution and is in the process of expanding. And I invited the founder, but he was on the road today, so couldn't make it. And but anyway, so I work with Fame Henry and also with the ARC here. We've are in the process of getting our communal garden and community orchard working this spring. We have some new American families already interested, so we're starting to make progress and things are starting to come together here on the east side.
Exciting news. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
And Megan Laudenschlager.
Hi, I'm Megan Laudenschlager. I'm the Executive Director of Strengthen ND. My office is located in Minot, but we cover all of rural North Dakota. And we come at local food from a community and capacity building perspective or angle. So I will be chatting a little bit more about that later on today.
Thank you, Megan. I think that's everybody, but if there's anybody on who did not get a chance to introduce themselves, now is your opportunity. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
So on our agenda today, we are housekeeping and then an update about a white paper that a committee is working on. We'll talk about what we have in store for the April meeting and a new initiative for member recruitment with video testimonials. And then Megan is going to give a presentation about what Strengthen ND does. This is our new monthly member spotlight so that we get to know what each of us does in more depth. And we will review our local food plan, which at this point is on, we're on page 18 and looking at vegetables. And then we'll go through member updates. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve?
This is Ellen. I'll motion to approve the agenda as is.
Second.
Thank you, Ellen and Megan. And then Felicity, could you bring up the minutes? Thank you. So we met last on February 16th. We had a great group participating. And we talked about membership and recruitment. So if you have not signed up through the official registration link on our webpage, please do so that we have you on our contact list. I gave a presentation about farms and what we do. And we discussed poultry in regard to the local food plan and our member updates. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? If none, could I have a motion to approve?
This is Ellen again. I'll approve.
Thank you, Ellen. And a second?
I can second.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Ellen and Megan again. And I'll talk with the board. I'm not sure if this is still the sort of meeting where we need to approve the agenda and the minutes. I would like to continue reviewing them. I think that's a good activity to center us, focus us all, but I'm not sure we need to approve them officially. Okay, so update about the white paper. So one of our participants, Bill Davis, gave the suggestion that we should provide some let me back up. When there is a change in leadership at the federal level, then some USDA organizations, one of them being USDA Rural Development, have a new head appointed. So the head of USDA Rural Development is currently Claire Carlson, who is an appointed Republican leader of that organization. And now that we have a Democrat as a president, we will have a new person, a Democrat, appointed as head of USDA Rural Development. And so that's an opportunity to offer education to that person about local foods and its importance in North Dakota. And so one of our members, Bill Davis, approached us and suggested that this would be a great opportunity to provide education. So we formed a committee. Currently, Felicity and I are working with Craig Burns and Jacob Davis. Thank you both. And Karen Ahrens, thank you. And we are developing some talking points and a brief white paper that we could use to educate this new head of rural development whenever they are appointed. We don't know exactly when that will be, but we anticipate within the next, maybe by the fall, hopefully. And so we had our first meeting, and we will meet again this coming Friday. And this also strikes me that as we are doing this work of developing these talking points, this would be useful information to have on our own website as education about local food for everyone. Craig or Jacob, did you want to share anything?
This is Craig. I'll go ahead and turn it over because I'm still driving. I'm almost home, but not quite yet.
Yes, be safe, Craig. Thank you. Karen, you just joined us and you also didn't get a chance to introduce yourself. Would you like to say anything?
Just good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being part of this meeting.
Thank you, Karen. And Karen represents Creating a Hunger-Free North Dakota Coalition she's based in Bismarck. Are there any questions about the development of the white paper, or thoughts or suggestions? Okay, well, we will keep you all updated as we work, and you're welcome to email your comments or suggestions as well, and we may send out a call for comments along the way. I'm going to turn it over to Felicity, who has some news about the next meeting and our recruitment.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. So our April meeting, which is going to be on April 20th, is going to really focus on farmers markets, and we're trying to recruit a couple farmers market managers or people who are either on the board or heavily involved in farmers markets. And this will be kind of a chance for them to talk about maybe the struggles they've had and the successes that they've had, and how we as the local foods community can support farmers markets across the state this upcoming year. So I just wanted to let you guys know I'll be putting out some Facebook posts and announcements, and if you guys are willing to share those with anyone you know who is either a vendor or works with a farmer's market, this would be a really good chance to kind of get some more people coming to our meetings, to get some people registered, because we will have a few extra speakers and such, so it should be a really good informative meeting. So just make sure to spread that news to your network. And like I said, you can watch our Facebook and Instagram, and I'll be posting some announcements, and then you can just really easily share them to your following. Does anyone have questions or suggestions about the farmers market meeting, or someone you'd really like to see there that I could reach out to? Okay.
Hi, this is Karen, and I will link you with Jan Stankiewicz at NDSU Extension, who's working to help 6 farmers markets establish SNAP, receiving SNAP for payment, and incentive programs, double up incentive programs. So it might be, she might be a good one to have on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I also wanted to add that at next meeting, but also before then, because it's timely, farms will be recruiting 6 interns to serve farmers markets in the state. Felicity was one of these interns last year at Red River Market, and she did a fantastic job. I haven't got confirmation from all 6 of my farmers markets yet, but I anticipate that we will be looking for interns in the Grand Forks area. I do have confirmation from Town Square Market. I will be looking for interns, at least 1 in Minot, probably 2, and then possibly Bismarck. I'm waiting to hear back from Bismarck. Oh, and of course Fargo, yes. Red River Market will be participating again. So look for more information coming soon, application and recruitment materials.
All right, the next thing I wanted to talk about was a new recruitment strategy that we're trying, which is video testimonials. And we're hoping that some of our members would be willing to schedule a short one-on-one Zoom meeting with me, and I can kind of just ask you some questions about your experience with NDLFDA, why you're a part of it, and why you think it's important to the local food system. I know that recording yourself on video is not something a lot of people are comfortable with, so I'll try to make it as quick and painless as possible. I have a couple questions that you can prepare answers to, and then we'll kind of do an interview style meeting, and then I'll be the one recording everything and editing it in into just a short 1 or 2 minute video that we can use on our social media pages. So even if you are uncomfortable being on video, I ask that you please consider doing this. They can be a really effective way for people who are just scrolling through social media and you see a video. It's a lot more engaging than just a text post. So I have a video that I did with Stephanie that I'm going to show as an example, just so that maybe you'll have an idea of what it might look like. So I'll mute myself and then share the video with you guys, and then I'll open it up for questions.
I'm Stephanie Bloomhagen. I'm the Executive Director for Farms and Board Chair for the North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance. I'm a member of NDLFDA because I believe in the saying that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. NDLFDA creates a space for collaboration so that we can go far together. Farm educates and supports farmers so they can create successful, sustainable farm businesses. But for these farmers to succeed, they need a thriving local food system in our state. They need access to markets and opportunities to scale up. Through NDLFDA, I can find partner organizations and access to information so that I can help my farmers succeed, and together we can build a stronger local food system.
Okay, did everybody hear that okay? I don't know.
Nice video, Stephanie. Good job.
Thank you. So, you know, I survived that, and it was actually pretty fun. So I would encourage you all to give it a try. Felicity's great.
And yeah, I will send out a link so that you can schedule a meeting with me. It's really easy. You just choose a time and then it auto generates a Zoom meeting so that you can just join that it takes, I think it took Stephanie and I 10 minutes to do it a couple times, and then I'll edit it for you. So.
I have a quick comment on marketing this group. Wondering, this might be a board question, but we could apply for an APUC grant to market this group and have some professional little snippets done in the future, if that's something we're interested in. I know the food co-op did that and got, over, I think it was like close to $20,000 for marketing the food co-op.
Oh, that's a great, I hadn't realized APUC would work for this sort of group. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I think their deadline is coming up April 1st, but then there's 2 more this year still. I think it's July, end of July, and later into the fall. So something to look into. I can send Felicity the dates and the info.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So yeah, that was all I had on this. I just wanted to let you guys know what it might look like, and hopefully calm some of your anxieties about it. It sometimes doesn't feel natural, but once you kind of edit it down, no one can tell. All right, unless you had anything to add, Stephanie, I think we can move into the membership spotlight.
Yes. Megan, we'll give you the floor.
Sure, thank you. Felicity, would you mind allowing me to share my screen? I just have a couple pictures, 2-3 pictures.
Yes, you should be good to go now, Megan.
Beautiful, thank you. All right, so thank you all for letting me be here to participate and to chat with you about what it is that we do. So Strengthen ND, we are a capacity building agency at heart, with our focus being on elevating and expanding community viability across North Dakota and the Native nations that share its geography. We were started in response to the growing disparities that we were seeing between North Dakota, or some of North Dakota's more populated areas, and those areas that were seeing population declines. So we undertake this approach by working and meeting communities where they are in terms of what their needs are, how it is that they would like to grow. Both community and tribal self-determination are a big piece of our equity tenets that we hold within our organization. This is a small town called Cheyenne. It's the town that I went to elementary school in. And at one time we had a grocery store, we had a bank, we had a fairly large gas station, a hair salon, a few other small businesses in town, and like many other communities, we've seen them slowly decline. So that focus on supporting and accelerating community development is really what we are here for. So we do that by building nonprofit and rural community capacity. That's through both formal and informal engagements. We've got a nonprofit certificate program. We do workshops. We work one-on-one by advancing regional issues. So by supporting work around diversity, equity, and inclusion, by supporting communities to organize around an issue. And lastly, by facilitating community solutions. So that's some of our more initiative-driven work, like our work at the Tuttle Rural Innovation Center, like our work with Farm Your Future ND, and a few other engagements. So this question around how does Strengthen ND interface with local foods, it's no secret that you do not want me training somebody how to grow something or how to raise something. That is not my skill set. That's not our team's skill set. We truly do have that rural development skill set, over 75 years of experience working collectively with community among the 5 of us. So we believe that, several issues or several factors intersect to truly create a community's identity. And again, this identity that is determined by the community, and whether that be economic development or commerce, whether that be culture and heritage, whether that be local foods, it all intersects, it all intermingles. So that's the way that we approach this local foods work, is really from a community perspective. Having said that, we do support people along probably the entirety of the local food spectrum, whether it be helping small producers understand how to navigate local and state and federal funding opportunities, to helping a community grocery store, to developing a economic development center with a focus on local foods, all the way to supporting groups like North Dakota Local Foods Development Alliance by being part of it, or some of our own initiative driven work. We truly work along that spectrum. And our approach, we try to be multi-sectorial, multi-jurisdictional. So again, not working with any one particular subset, but really working across all of those, again, to meet the needs of the community. And it's building the capacity of individuals and organizations to leverage local foods as a catalyst for both individual and community economic mobility, resident health and wellness, and community identity. So that is my small 5-minute spiel about who we are and what we do with regard to local foods. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing right now. And if anyone has any questions or would like further explanation, I would be happy to respond.
I have a question about one of your member updates. You've been updating recently about a feasibility study funded by NRCS for building resilient farm country, and then that's followed up by phase 2 funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. What is that? What are you providing or doing?
Yeah, so building resilient farm country is an effort or initiative started toward the tail end of 2018 that really came to life in 2019. And we began to inventory and assess vacant or idle farmsteads in an 8-county northern North Dakota area to understand what the potential was to repopulate those rural farmsteads, whether that be looking at what type of infrastructure was there, roads, water, electricity, what the housing looked like. Could it be rehabilitated? Is it something that new housing would have to be pulled in, to even what type of community amenities exist? Is it a community that if a family moved in with a child with special needs, that they'd be able to access the types of services that they would need to best support their student? So that was a big piece of that feasibility study, was the inventory and assessment, as well as if we were to repopulate these farmsteads, what's the potential for folks who live on those farmsteads to engage in microfarming, and then what impact would that have on the both hyper-local food system as well as the regional local food system. So we began landowner outreach right in March of 2020, which was not a great time to do that. So our project got postponed a bit, and we were able to really pick it back up this fall, that feasibility study portion of it. And while we were engaged within those landowner communications, trying to work within community to better understand what they needed or what their willingness to accept new residents would be, the overwhelming sentiment of the individuals and community members that we spoke with was, we want people to come and move here if we know where they're coming from or what their background is. Basically, if their background's like us, if they want to work hard, then yes, we would be open to having them come in and reside in our community. So that spurred our interest in understanding how we shift narratives about people who look differently than us or have different backgrounds or speak differently in rural North Dakota, and how they are accepted or not accepted. So that's a part of our narrative change project that we are working on with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is phase 2 of the feasibility study that we're working on. And we are about, and that too got delayed due to COVID more on their end than on our end. But we are still in kind of campaign development mode for that. So we anticipate that the entirety of this initiative is going to take, probably 10-ish years before we see really significant movement. But we are working hard to lay the groundwork for people who want to come to North Dakota, who want to live in a small town, or who want to purchase or rent or start a small farm to be able to participate in our economy and in our communities.
Thank you. Coming from a very small town myself, I grew up south of Drake. I've absolutely seen everything that you're talking about. We decry the fact that our town is shrinking and the school is shrinking, but if somebody moves in, it's very difficult for people to accept them. So,
may I ask a question? So I remember when Bill Davis had talked to, I don't know, a group of us, maybe in Wishick or something, about this very project. This has been, like you said, 2018, I think you kicked this off. And I would echo what Stephanie just said too. I mean, I had a sense that I wondered how this was going to be received. Did you talk to landowners or the people that own some of these farms, and what were you faced with? I have a sense of perhaps what you dealt with, but I'm curious.
Yeah, so in that 8-county area, we found that there were about 200 vacant bridal farmsteads that we could find, right? Something that still had property that was still usable. And of that 200 farmsteads that we found, we whittled it down to about 100 that we said, okay, these would be our best bets. Let's reach out, see what type of response we get on whether they are interested in selling or donating. Don't get me started on the whole land ownership process, because we're still talking with the Attorney General around, it wouldn't be corporate farming, I promise. But him saying, oh, I don't know. So that is to be determined. But with the landowners, we found there's a great deal of pride in that property and pride in that community and what the family was able to do for that community. They are torn because they want to see it carried on. They want to see something happen with that property. They want it to be kids or grandkids if able. They want it, if it's not kids or grandkids, they want someone else to take it over. But the big question that we always got was, well, who would it be? Where would they be coming from? And I interpret that as, would they be like me, right? Whether it's being a good steward of the land or having the same background. So we saw that with, I would say 90% of the landowners. And with those landowners, of the 100 we reached out to via mail, we had phone conversations with about 50 that were receptive to having those phone conversations. So again, it's a part of being, I would say, pretty insulated. I mean, I grew up south of Devil's Lake. I had to go over to the next county to get a prom date because I was related to everybody. Like, it's just a part of the way that we grew up. So I can understand that. So how do we, creak open that door just a little bit for them to be more receptive? We are the narrative project that we're working on. We are trying to develop empathy through that shared experience of leaving where you're at for greater opportunity. So my great-grandparents, Casper and Pernilla, left Norway because of religious persecution. They were Quaker sympathizers. And there wasn't enough land for my great-grandpa, who was a farmer, to own his own property, to make a living. So they came all the way over to North Dakota to have that opportunity. So how do we develop empathy? By getting people to connect with that experience, where if we have a new American coming, if we've got somebody coming from South Carolina who wants to come up and farm, or, so that's the premise upon which we are basing this narrative change work.
Thank you for your insight. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The North Dakota Heritage Center had a display a few years back, similar to that, juxtaposing images of immigrants to North Dakota from 100 years ago and then modern day new Americans. Maybe they'd share some of their images or research.
So that's all I've got for you guys. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to entertain those as well.
Okay. If there are no further questions for Megan, thank you, Megan. That was a great presentation, and really excited to. I've been wondering what resilient farm country was for a little bit, so excited to hear about the progress made on that. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I say I can go ahead and just share the next section of the meeting, which was the local foods plan.
Yeah. So each month, okay, let me back up because we have some new faces today. Somewhere around 2014 or 15, someone who some of you may remember named Chuck Fleming, who used to work for the Department of Ag, after being retired from the Department of Ag, collaborated with, I believe, Bill Davis and Rural Development to create an executive summary for a local foods development plan. So it's my understanding that they had a vision of a coordinated local food system, and this was Chuck's work to put on paper the beginnings of that vision and idea. So from that, in 2017, we formed as the North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance and became a 501c3. And we continue to meet monthly as a way to connect and engage people in the work of building a vibrant local food system in North Dakota. And so for the past several months, we've been going through the original local food plan bit by bit in an effort to remind ourselves what the initial plan was, but also it's been quite a few years since this was written, and things have changed since then. So in going through and discussing each section, we also discuss, is this still relevant? What new things have developed? Are there new and different needs around this section? So last month we talked about poultry. This month it's the section on vegetables, which is surprisingly short, because that seems to be where most of the work of farms and the Entrepreneurial Center for Horticulture at Dakota College at Botno, Extension, Master Gardeners. We have a lot of farmers markets. We have a lot of produce growers. So back in when this was written, he felt that a massive effort should be initiated through an awareness campaign to promote the consumption of both fruits and vegetables. Small-sized literature should be made available to every farmers market vendor manager for distribution to their vendors to be included with each purchase that is made. Now, I know that since that somewhere around that time, the Entrepreneurial Center for Horticulture and the Farmers Market and Growers Association did the Dakota Grown It's All Good campaign. I don't know that anybody from that effort is on the call today. Were you involved in that, Karen?
No, I was not in on when that came together. But in some of the discussions, so there has been in the past a branding effort, and now I'm gapping out the name, that was used to help identify a particular area's food. and the program would take the logo and personalize it by state or locality. So I know that at the time that was discussed, and then it was the North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association working with the Agriculture Department who led that Pride of Dakota. It's all good, and that's been, I think that started in about 2010, actually. So that one has been around, and I haven't seen that it's been updated a lot, but it, you know, I think it's a pretty evergreen logo, but just a little bit more, not really highly giving you a lot of information, but a little bit that I can remember.
Well, these coordinated statewide local food campaigns are the sort of thing that USDA AMS likes to fund through their local food promotion program grants and farmers market promotion program grants. And yeah, we do have Pride of Dakota, and we have Dakota Grown It's All Good. Pride of Dakota is by the Department of Ag Pride of Dakota program, and then Dakota Grown is from the Farmers Market and Growers Association. So as a vendor myself at farmers markets, I used to have 2 stickers on all of my products. I guess the question that this brings to mind is that sufficient, or do we still have a need for a coordinated awareness campaign around local food in our state?
My experience, at least working in Fargo, which might not be representative of the whole state, is, you know, there's always a need for more awareness around local foods, but it didn't seem to be the main issue that producers or vendors were facing. If anything, it was the opposite, where they can't produce enough and they're consistently selling out. And I think there has been a lot of awareness, like through the farms internship program and a lot of education around marketing and social media. There was more demand than supply at the farmers market last year. And so I think that it's obviously something we need to keep working on, but the awareness is growing, you know, somewhat organically. And I think it might not be the #1 thing to focus on right now, but that's my opinion.
Anybody else?
Felicity, I'm curious. We went to the farmers market in Fargo once. And, you know, obviously it was a strange year. How do you compare anything to 2020? But did they notice an uptick in people visiting the market this year, or was it down because of COVID? Or what would be an assessment on that, or anybody else at Bismarck? Or
so we saw the numbers stayed fairly consistent. We saw an increase in people using their SNAP dollars and their double bucks. We saw a big increase in that. But as far as like sales numbers, it seemed to stay pretty consistent. And I think part of that is producers max out, like they bring a certain amount of vegetables and they sell out. And if you have more people, it doesn't matter because you're out of what you have. So I think that kind of was part of the like sales per vendor, when you looked at it, seemed pretty consistent.
This is Karen, and I've been speaking with a few farmers markets as I'm putting together this report on food access in the year 2020 during COVID. And I did get a statement from the manager of the market that is jives, but it's a little more specific. And she's letting me use this in the report that for Red River Farmers Market last year, even with a 60% decrease in visitors, the market experienced an 18.5% increase in spending from 2019. And then hearing about vendors selling out, Felicity resonated with a report from North Prairie Farmers Market in Minot, where they reported crowds of people. And our friend, a lot of us know Marvin Baker. He ran out of produce a month early. And then Bismarck experienced its second largest sales year with fewer weeks open. So they did really well this year. And my my idea for farmers markets, and I don't know, but it seems like to kind of keep that excitement and enthusiasm building this year, like, I don't know, just as an idea for marketing farmers markets. And I just throw it out for people in case, because I think if you recall that we had this disruption in the food systems where people stopped eating out and they started shopping more at grocery stores, that people found empty shelves in grocery stores, maybe for the first time ever, for certain food products that they couldn't find. And how do we keep that momentum going this year with our farmers markets? Like, hey, remember last year you came to us, you found we were a safe outdoor space, you found food and you had a good time and were able to socialize, like, come out and celebrate that we're, maybe seeing the end of the tunnel with COVID, and come out and celebrate with us in 2021. It's just kind of been an idea that I've been floating in. It may be good, it may be bad, but it's just an observation and an idea that I had.
I had an idea that I'm hoping to bring to fruition, but I'm a little short on time and resources. But Farms is doing monthly webinars, and I thought this time of year, maybe in a few weeks, in mid-April, would be a good time to do a webinar titled something like, "So you want to become a new farmers market vendor." The goal would be to recruit new farmers to vend at farmers markets and bring in market managers and existing market vendors to just talk about, it's okay, it's not so hard. Here's what it costs. Here's some of the supplies you'll need. Here's what you should think about. We'd love to have you at our farmers market. Come join as a vendor, because now is the time they'll be starting seeds, planning their production for the year. So it's still an idea.
I think that's a really good idea, Stephanie, and what Karen is saying too. I mean, talk about striking while the iron's hot. I mean, if you watch those Facebook farm to table, whatever they are, it's crazy. I mean, that need or want for local food has not waned. So I think it's very positive, and certainly a positive time to be food producer, local foods producer.
Yeah. I would also add that this is more of a member update, but we are currently running our Farm Beginnings class, and we have 18 students, which is one of the largest classes we've had in quite a while. We're running it online, which increases our reach and increases accessibility. But there are some great new up and coming food producers, and I'm excited to see them grow.
This might be a good time to remind everyone we will be talking about farmers markets next month. So keep your questions, and I think it'll be a really good conversation. But I think we should wrap up the discussion on vegetables because we have a couple member updates to get through before 3 o'clock.
Thank you, Felicity. I appreciate the help keeping time. Are there any last comments about vegetable production? Okay. So we've got some great member updates this month, and I'm going to start at the bottom of the list, Felicity. So Farms is still recruiting a communications coordinator. This would be an AmeriCorps position. And we have the posting at farms.org/employment. So if you know somebody, maybe a marketing student, we would just send them our way. We also this is an outgrowth of our Farm Beginnings course. We teach Intro to Financial Management in Farm Beginnings, the basics of budgeting and creating an annual financial plan. But many farmers, especially farmers who are already operating, could use a brush up on their financial management skills. So we are running Farm Finance 102. This is a webinar with one of our farmers, Jen Skoog, who runs Family Roots Farm south of Fargo, but she's also an accountant and a great teacher. And that'll be March 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. Look for more info at farms.org. Deb Nelson from DLN Consulting is working on identifying local grocers and restaurants that incorporate locally produced produce or meat. And they will be adding those to the Department of Ag's local foods map. They're also attending a conference in Arizona and hoping to bring back new ideas. Northern Plains RC&D Council, that's Paul Overby, who I don't think could join us today. They continue to work with farms, and he has been supporting our Farm Beginnings class and participating. He said the students are making good progress in their learning, and he said he's finding the concepts being taught very beneficial even to an older non-local food producer. So he and I have been visiting about whether there are opportunities to get beyond the beginning part of the name to encourage experienced producers to take this program. And so I'm thinking about what educational opportunities are needed for farmers who've been operating for a few years. USDA calls you a beginning farmer up to your 10th year of production. Just a little tidbit. Most farmers feel like they're well experienced after 3 or 4 years, but you're still a beginner to the USDA until you're 11. Karen, I'm glad you're here to explain this a little more. Delighted that the American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law. And would you share all the things that this means?
Sure. So I have been putting together updates from several national organizations that have been advocating on this and are working in getting the benefits out. I tried to put the ones most applicable to Local Food Development Alliance first. And so there is further funds to purchase food from farmers through food banks, nonprofits, or restaurants. And in the previous administration, this was called the Farmers to Families Food Box Program. And this USDA administration, new secretary or renewed Secretary Tom Vilsack, and they're holding listening sessions to find out how that went in the last year and how it can be made better. And I think, Stephanie, you've signed up for a listening session on this. because one of the drawbacks is that this has mostly been open to very large producers of food. And I think, and what I just heard in a national food policy conference earlier today is that small farmers, farmers of color, have been shut out from participating. So looking to see, you know, is it possible and it's going to take some shifts, because as we know, when you purchase large amounts of things, it's easier to deal with a few vendors than deal with many small. So it will take new efforts and energy from USDA to do this, but it sounds like they're kind of committed to doing that and listening to ways to make that better. For the WIC program, there's a temporary increase in benefits of the amount they can purchase, spend on fruits and vegetables. We don't have the WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program in North Dakota, but they do in other states. But this would be for purchases in North Dakota from grocery stores. So through September, more money to purchase fruits and vegetables, which are the food groups that are for health that are lowest consumed by Americans. And some senior nutrition programs, and in extending increases in SNAP, USDA is trying to support farmers of color. A woman named Janie Hipp, who's been working with Native American farmers, was recently appointed to the Department of Agriculture, and she's strong on helping farmers of color, Native American farmers, not being overlooked, having more access and support and non-discrimination in programs. So I feel that's exciting, and you can find more information at the USDA website.
That's exciting about that new appointment. Thank you, Karen. And a reminder that these updates are available for you to read at any time by going to farms.org/NDLFDA, and there's a link that takes you to these. Finally, I want everybody to know that tonight we have a workshop with Linda Black Elk called Plant Medicine for Beginners from 6 to 8 p.m. and the link to the Facebook event is here, where I'm putting it in the chat, so you can get to the Zoom session from there, completely free, open to everyone. And then many of our farmers with high tunnels lost their plastic coverings in the February deep freeze. So Farms is providing a small assistance grant called the Arch Grant. So farmers who need to replace their plastic on their high tunnels can submit receipts and be reimbursed up to 66%, or a total of up to $500 to help them with those costs, because that was just, yeah, after a difficult year, then to now lose the plastic on your high tunnel shortly before you want to put it into production was a frustration. So we're trying to help them out. So info on that, farms with 2 Rs.org/arch, ARCH. Any other updates before we close the meeting? I want to be sure I don't miss anyone.
This isn't an update, but I just wanted to echo what you said. The link to all these updates is on our website, and there's also the link to submit an update. So even if you're not a member or you don't regularly attend meetings, if you have any or know of someone else who's doing any local foods activity or event, you can fill out that form and I will transfer it over to this page, and we try to include links and everything. So it's a good resource to check throughout the month as well.
All right. Well, with that, I think we'll adjourn. Thank you all I'm glad you joined us today, and thank you again for all the work you're doing to build our local food system. Have a great Tuesday afternoon.